Hello and welcome, world. This is Entrepreneur Wilderness Radio Show. I'm your host, Oyeno Alobala, and my guest today is Gary Bronga, who is an author of a business and marketing book, Bringing a Product to Market from Your Home, and several informational booklets. Gary is also a former founder and CEO of Clipped Ease Worldwide Included, which markets and sells his invention Clip Ease badge holder pins. A frequent speaker at business events and on the radio. He has been featured in many radio shows and other media outlets. Welcome, Gary. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, straight at the gates, what's the first thing that's in your mind that you want to speak about in terms of entrepreneurialism?
Well, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be rocket science. A small invention can do very well. And as unemployment rises and as a difficult situation in America, a lot of people have turned to inventions and small businesses for themselves. My story, I invented a product with an idea and $500. And to date, we've sold over 3 million.
Wow, $500 to 3 million. That is quite a story.
Yes, it all started one day at my place of employment, where we were talking. A group of 4 or 5 of us were talking about how we did not like our ID badges. As security in the world becomes more of a concern, most people require an identification badge. And we did not like how we wore those. A lot of them wore lanyards, a little chain or material around your neck. Many clipped them to their belt or their shirt sleeve, and it was very difficult to read, or the wind would blow them around. And so we were just talking about the different ways. And at the same time, a company came by, a guy from a company came by and handed us a lapel pin as just an appreciation gift. So I happened to put that pin on my shirt, and we continued to talk. And as we broke up and went our separate ways, I took my ID badge and I went to put it back on my shirt, and that's where I had stuck that pin. So I stuck my badge right on that pin, and there's where my idea came from. After drawing it for many days and nights, I found out how to make a prototype, and I had a couple of hundred of them made. Sold those, gave them away, and sat back and got more orders. Had 500 made and sold those, and had 1,000 made and sold those. And here it is, 18 years later, and we've sold over 3 million.
Wow! So when you first initially went from idea to building your first prototype or product to sell, what was going through your mind at that time?
Well, actually, I thought it was going to be just extra money, which I really recommend that anyone, regardless of what their day job is, in today's economy, there's no one that's safe. There's cutbacks, jobs that normally were very safe, that you didn't have to worry. Now there's cutbacks, and people with years have to worry about their jobs.
That's right.
So that's what was going through my mind. This would be a little extra income, and here in America we get some tax incentives to start a business.
Okay, so what would you say to someone who's in that situation? What would be the necessary steps to take to just safeguard against the rising unemployment?
Well, the thing is, do something. I recommend that you do something that you can expand later. And in my case, it took over my day job. I eventually quit my day job. I worked on both for about 2.5 years. And then later it became a full-time job, and I hired 6 people. You never know when something's going to take off, and ideas are everywhere.
So to someone who, they will be thinking, oh, right, I can see exactly where we're going. They're quite aware of what the situation is in employment. What would you do to encourage them to say, sit down, get a pen and paper out and just, go with whatever it is that you think the market needs? What would you say to them to encourage them in that light?
Well, what I did and what I suggest is testing everything. Before you go out and borrow a lot of money, I didn't borrow any money. I just started small, and time goes so quickly that next thing you know, It's 2 years later. You just start small and don't get to the point where you owe a lot of money, where there's a lot of pressure. If I had a good month, that was great. If I didn't have a good month, that was no problem, because I had my day job to fall back on. And so you start small, and you protect your idea the best you can, depending on where you're at. Here I did non-disclosure forms, and I did a provisional patent first before I ran out and made a patent, which I did myself. There's enough books and enough help to be able to do that yourself. But depending on your individual country, you have individual laws governing that. But there's plenty of help available if you just ask.
Sure. So if someone, had a very, I can't say, little money in the way of savings, what would you say to them to, just to test the idea first?
Well, what I did is I had a couple of ideas, and I took the one that was the least expensive, that I thought was very clever. My book, Bringing a Product to Market, is based on starting a company with very little funds. You use creativity and you use effort rather than money. We used many cost-saving ways that we came up with. I shared space at trade shows with another company. I used those little cardboard cutouts that we have here with movie rental places of movie stars, and I made a little Clippies badge of that star, and it was only $40 US, and it was compared to the thousands that some people use at trade shows. So you use your creativity. You talk to family and friends, and have fun with it, and see what you can come up with at very little cost.
Okay, so that's basically doing your marketing on a shoestring, with the resources that you have, basically.
That's correct. And at my website, www.garybronga.com, GARYBRONGA, I do have a 48 a tips booklet that's free. It's an e-tips booklet that's 48 great tips for starting a product from your home. And it suggests several low-cost options that you have when you first start. You'd be surprised what you can come up with. We came up with a display for stores that was bought at a dollar store that cost $1, and we pulled a cardboard out that stood up, and we spray glued the surface and put a sheet of paper with our logo and put our Clippies pins on that. The whole cost was $1 and one sheet of paper, and they sold by the hundreds.
So what would you say to someone who they're hearing this radio show and they say, "Oh, that's impossible. That can't be done. I mean, there's no way that can be done." And what would you say to that?
Well, the book tells you exactly. It is a book that I wish I had, and it can be done. You have fun with it, and I think it was Einstein that says imagination is more important than knowledge. You'll figure out a way, and those problems that are posed to you, you will solve. But having the imagination and having the drive, what I'm telling you is very simple, but it's not easy.
So it's simple, doable, but not easy.
No, it's not easy. But most people work real hard for an employer now, and when they work real hard and they do a good job, some manager gets a bonus, or some stockholder gets the benefit of their labor. Why not work real hard and get the benefits of your own labor yourself?
Exactly. That's exactly my point. I when I started out in, venturing out on my own was the most scariest thing that I could have ever done. But at the same time, it was an adventure. So that's what I'll say to most people: just get out there, feel the fear, but try and do something anyway.
Oh yes, and you will lose sleep. You'll lose sleep over bad things. You'll lose sleep over good things. But it's exciting. There are times when somebody ripped off our ideas and copied. I didn't sleep at night, and then there were other times when my sales rep from California called and said, "Make sure you watch the TV show ER." And when I turned it on, they were all wearing Clippies. And at that time, that was the #1 show in the world. and they were my product that I started by drawing it on a napkin. It was that's quite a accomplishment.
Okay. Basically, what you're saying is really is that when you start something, when you get the ball rolling, technically you have nowhere of knowing where it's going to go, but it will end up somewhere when you keep on trying and persevering. But you're still going to feel apprehension and have these doubts in your mind.
Yes, you always will, and that's part of the part of running your own business. Most people, I hear all kinds of reasons why they don't start. They procrastinate. They're going to do it next week, next month, next year. They don't know how to do it. They don't have enough money to do it. I say, just like Nike, just do it. And you learn so much. And if you start slow and you don't borrow, you have very little at risk. And most governments encourage you by giving you tax benefits.
So I mean, with the unemployment, you would think that will be the catalyst to get people to really just get out there and just do something. But I know people that even though they're unemployed or they're facing unemployment or their job position looks shaky, they will still go and look for another job.
Yeah, they will, rather than start something. I think the school system encourages you study hard, get good grades, and you'll get a good job.
Yeah.
They don't say study hard, get good grades, and you'll own your own business someday.
Yeah.
And they're starting to do that. And our community colleges and our universities have grown. The entrepreneur programs have grown substantially over the past few years. I don't believe it's reached the high school level here in America, but it should, at least an introductory. And a lot of people will go out and get a second job and work real hard rather than get a business. And most people have ideas. Usually they get 2 or 3 ideas a year that could make them money. A lot of times it's a hobby. A lot of times they how many times I've heard somebody say, I thought of a wonderful product, I didn't do anything. Next thing you know, somebody a couple of years.
Yeah, somebody else has done it. Yeah.
So why don't they come up with it? And a lot of it's a fear. A lot of it's a fear of failure. But even if you don't have a lot of risk other than your time and energy, you learn so much. You learn through your failures. You learn so much. Many of the richest people in the world have failed many, many times before they made it. It's not. The feel of failure a lot of times is just not rational anymore.
Exactly. That's my point, because like I was saying before, the catalyst should be that my job is not really safe. I really need to do something. But it's that fear is so great in some people's minds that they will just rather go back to the same risky jobs. I just don't understand it sometimes.
Take more risk in their jobs most of the time than they in their business. Also, there's a movement in America, and I would assume worldwide. You can probably help me with that. But what services and products and needs of the people that aren't met will quickly be filled by entrepreneurs. And there are several examples of that over here, like seed money for companies and investment dried up a lot.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden these websites appeared where you could put your business idea on there. You could offer a free product or a gift, and people would contribute to your business. So they filled the void of cutbacks in government in this case, and cutbacks in private enterprise as far as investment and venture capitalists. And
yeah, I think you call that crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Every time that there's a need that is dropped by either government or large corporations, it's filled with all these little entrepreneurs that rush and find a better way to accomplish that. So if you're having a problem with something, so is everyone else.
Well, that would